Chodesh Tov. Wish everyone renewal is Chodesh Tov on Rosh Chodesh. And we're now in the period known as the period of counting the Omer. And counting the Omer contains hints at various basic aspects of both the whole of the Bible and of creation, and above all of revelation from Hashem. It's familiar, probably most of us, from the Siddur. You find in the Siddur, they sometimes put with counting the Omer a diagram of the menorah, the candelabrum. The seven-branched candelabrum, which is also the symbol of the state of Israel, and which, as we'll see when we analyze things more deeply, is also the basis of the other Jewish symbol of the Magen David. Magen David means what? What does it mean in English?
Shield of David.
The shield of David. What's it got to do with the shield of David? Well, it's also got a central area, and it's got six-sided star, which is, you can say it's the menorah on a plane. And as you will soon see, there's chapter 67 of Tehillim, of the book of Psalms, is really, in words, the structure of the menorah and the Magen David, and this was what was written on the shield of David, which brought him protection. But it goes much deeper, because the concept of the seven-branched menorah is really the basis also of the description of creation of the world. It's also the Shabbat, is the central shaft, and 3 days before and 3 days after Shabbat are, we say, branches of the menorah in the world of time and space. And we find this also, to go more deeply, in nature, because there's so many different aspects of the natural universe. It's also worked with concepts of the harmony produced by 7, 6 and 7. We have the 7 colors of the spectrum, we have the 7 notes of the octave, and we go deeply into other aspects of the natural world. We have the concept of the cycle of 7. And the cycle of 7 goes all the way through Jewish life. Festivals, basically, major festivals, are 7 days, and the Pesach also, the festival of 7 days, and then we have the 7 times 7. We have the law of the Shemitah, the law of the Jubilee. So we see it goes into so many different aspects. Now if you'll turn to the Siddur, I especially brought extra Siddur here in case someone doesn't have one, and you go to the counting of the Omer, so frequently also, as I said, you'll find the symbols I mentioned, and then you'll find more. You'll find that there are different words and letters attached to each day. So we're going to try to understand the deeper aspects of all this. So the way to begin is, I'll give you here also, which will simplify matters, I'll give you here from one of the best surveys which exist amongst the early codifiers of the Torah of the 613 mitzvot of the Torah and mitzvah 306 in the Sefer Chinuch. It's called the Book of Education because it's the way to educate people in the 613 mitzvot. So here you can, I've made photocopies, each one can follow. first page. So it gives you also the source for everything. And we'll try to understand more deeply what is significance. Then we'll also relate it to what we say in the Siddur. So it's precept number 306. What is its mitzvah? It's to count 49 days from the day of the presentation of the Omer. So let's first analyze what does the Omer mean. The Omer is really a sheaf of grain. The Omer refers to in particular the sheaf of barley grain, which grain is transformed into fine flour, and that flour is brought as an offering in the temple on the second day of Pesach, not the first one. And to understand this, on a deeper level, barley is considered animal fodder, whilst wheat is human food. Of course, you can also use barley for human food, but it's the regular diet for animal food. So, the first day of Pesach represents the birth of the people of Israel. And to understand its importance, and why we constantly remember it in so many different areas of life, and even in the Decalogue, the Ten Commandments, how does Hashem introduce himself to the 3 million people to whom he revealed these holy words of the Decalogue? Can any of you tell me, how does he introduce himself? Hashem. What does he say? I'm Hashem your God. How does it continue? Took you out of Egypt. So, the question everyone asks is, this was intended for all mankind, for all the nations of the world. When the people of Israel accepted it immediately, but in the course of human history it was accepted also by the Christians and the Muslims in principle, and even until today there are many who regard the Decalogue as referring to the basis of human civilization. So why did you continue? Well, I took you out from Egypt. Why did you say, I am Hashem your God who created you? So can any of you give an answer to this question? You have dealt with it frequently. Yes?
Well, we weren't witnesses to creation.
We weren't witnesses to it. So therefore, you can even say, the first letter of the Decalogue is which letter? First letter in Hebrew. Which is the first letter of the Aleph Beit? Aleph. Anochi Hashem Elokecha. And which is the first letter of the Chumash?
Beit.
Beit, Bereshit, in the beginning. So here there's the following hint, which is based upon this concept, that there are two areas whereby we relate to Hashem. We can relate to Him as the creator of the world. People start asking questions. How can you explain how this universe into which we're born was brought into reality? the answer is it's through a mind that is beyond all the different aspects of the nature of the world, but that produces it, that has produced it. But we weren't witnesses to that at the beginning. So really, to know Hashem from the creation of the world, our main basis for this is where we did witness it. In other words, 3 million of our people witnessed it when the nation was born. And we can witness also the acts of Hashem within history. So the Aleph, the beginning, is really the divine revelation. But the way in which we experience it, it's true, we experience nature before we know about revelation. On the other hand, to know God as a power in the world, that we know from the Decalogue. That's the Aleph. So that is why also we regard the birth of the people of Israel through the way in which Hashem demonstrated that history is His story. It's the story of Hashem, not just the story of man. The story of Hashem relates to man. That's the Aleph. Now, when we were released from Egypt and became an independent nation after having been enslaved, the lowest level of persecution and enslavement in Egypt, and then we were transformed into a free nation, that's the celebration of Pesach. But then we felt that we've been taken out from under the persecution, under the suffering of Egypt, but that's not yet fulfilling our task. The task, why did Hashem choose us? So why did Hashem choose us?
Stiff neck.
Pardon?
Because of our stiff neck.
Because of?
Our stubbornness.
Why choose us? Forefathers.
We chose Him.
Chosen.
That's right. How odd of God to choose the Jews. It's not so odd. The Jews chose God. We know Avraham Avinu, forefathers. They searched for Him and they found Him and they chose to follow Him. And the people of Israel also inherited this from the forefathers. And even though they were enslaved, they decided they're going to follow Hashem. So Hashem took us out, but as it says in the preamble given to Moshe Rabbeinu when he was chosen to be the prophet of Hashem, to lead the people, so he was told then, at the burning bush, that the purpose of going out from Egypt is to become God's people. How do you become God's people? By accepting His Torah, His way of life that is given to the people of Israel on a higher level, to become a kingdom of priests and teachers, in order that all mankind will ultimately come to Him. And that's, therefore, the deeper significance of Hashem introducing the Aseret HaDibrot that took you out from Egypt, in order to reveal to you this higher level. So now this is symbolized by animal fodder and human food. On the day when the Torah was given, when afterwards we were able to bring offerings to the sanctuary and afterwards in the temple, then we were to take an offering of wheat. The wheat harvest is later than barley harvest. So on the time of Pesach, we're only on the level of human animals. All right? We have intelligence, we have higher creative qualities, but if we regard our existence as a nation, like many of the other nations do, they look at it from the point of view of the political power, the financial power, the material power, the industrial, agricultural power of a whole group of people. If that's going to be the aim of this people, then we're not different from the other nations. The only way we can really fulfill our task is we build on our physical existence and bring it to the highest spiritual level, which comes through accepting the Torah. So therefore we have to count the days of bringing the Omer, that's where it starts, and build ourselves up till we reach the higher level. So this is the idea of counting 49 days from their presentation of Omer until, which is the 60th of Nisan, and this is based upon the verse in the Chumash, which you're going to read in next week's Parsha, where it says, "Utzvatem lachem," you've got to count for yourselves from the morrow of the Shabbat, from the day when you bring the Omer Atnufa, you have to count 49 days. So why 49? Because this is the cycle of purification. The person becomes impure in any way. To get purity, it's got to count 7 days. A more intensive aspect of purity, 7 times 7. In fact, there's 7 forms of different aspects of physical impurity, whereby you can become purified after counting 7 days. You might say, what's the importance of counting? The person who's got a business, he's got to keep an account. If you don't keep an account and know what's going on, then you're liable to go bankrupt. Therefore you've got to count in every area of life. And just like you've got to count your financial debts and overdrafts and see they don't go too far, you should be able to repay them. On the contrary, translate it all into having a healthy balance and having profits instead of losses, or at least you must have enough profits to balance the losses, and you shouldn't go bankrupt. So here I'll tell you the same concept put into some beautiful lines by the Ibn Ezra in Hebrew. Adam doeg al ibud damav, ve'no doeg al ibud yamav, which means the person is worried if he's got a loss of money, a loss of business. Also, let's say in his home budget, he finds his losses are great. He can't pay his bills anymore. So he can't, the grocer and the butcher and the others, they're not supplying any more food because they can't give any more credit. So a person's worried about these things in life. And also a nation's worried in life when this happens. That's what Adam doeg al imud damav. He's worried if he loses anything of value. But he's not worried if he loses his days. What is the greatest gift given to each one of us? We're given a certain number of years, and sometimes if we don't count the days in those years, the years go by and we've made no progress. We're just the same lazy persons as we were before. We're just the same self-centered persons as we were before. And that's what many of us go through life. And we think, oh, what did I do? Didn't achieve anything much. The person has to recognize the greatest gift is given time. Time is life. So life is made up of time. I don't know if it's so common in American slang, colloquialism, but in Great Britain they used to speak, I don't know how it is today, they say, what did you do the last week? He said, I was killing time. Killing time. And killing time is Suicide. Yeah. Killing time. Time is life. So the idea is, it says, Damav einam ozrim, Yamav einam chozrim. The possession this person has, yeah, whatever he's had, whatever you've lost, if you lost money, yeah, it doesn't come back. It doesn't help you. It doesn't help. Money is, they say, money is the root of all evil. Well, for some people, not the root of evil, but still, it takes up, money and possessions take up a lot of our time, and they don't really help to improve life and the quality of life. Some of the richest people are some of the people who are most worried. They're worried from morning to night. How are they going to remain secure? They have to take bodyguards, and they have to be careful. All their possessions, they shouldn't be harmed. And they know people are after them. But days that you've lost, you can never get back. So therefore, let's all use our days. So this is the concept of counting. Now, if you've got, please, I've got any questions before we continue.
I have 2 questions.
No. So. Anyone else? Anyone has questions?
I'll ask.
Yes, please.
It's not related to this,
Okay.
but Rab Hillel's statement,
Yes.
what is distasteful to you, do not do unto others. It sounds like a course in sociology. Evelyn Woods, give up your seat in the bus, speak nicely, all the niceties of life.
Yes.
There is no mention of God. He speaks only in human terms.
Yeah.
The first statement should be about fearing God. Instead, he says, be kind to other people, give tzedakah, be careful on boarding the bus, anything that's distasteful. There's no mention of anything holy or God. It's just between man and man. Cannibals could do the same thing, and they could say the same thing. Where is God when he says, what is distasteful to you? This is just humanity.
Well, Hillel made the statement as an answer to a particular question. To understand any statement made by people in a dialogue, you've got to understand whom they're speaking to and what was the question, and then give the full answer, because he didn't just say that which is hate from you do to fellow man. So who can tell me the story? Where did it come from? The statement of Hillel? Yeah.
Once the whole Torah is standing on one foot,
Yes.
everything else is commentary.
That is
That's
said
good.
afterwards.
Well, but what was the
That
what
was
was the
afterwards.
question? What was the question? And from whom was the question?
From a gear, I think a gear asked him
Potential.
to teach him all the Torah standing on one foot. So, and that's what he said.
This
that was the answer.
non-Jew, was a non-Jew, who came to Hillel and said to him, I'd like to accept this Torah of yours, but you have to explain it to me in a nutshell, in one statement.
Okay.
Because if I get it in, I want to know what's the basic principle. So, let's put it into context. Why would a non-Jew go to Hillel? When did it take place?
Because Shammai, he first went to Shammai.
Yeah, first went to they were the two greatest scholars, Hillel and Shammai. Yeah, at that time, they were the leaders of the Sanhedrin. So first he went to Shammai. It's also important to know. Yes. So what did Shammai tell him?
Pushed him away with a yardstick.
Which yardstick? Which type of yardstick?
He was measuring his is a loaded question.
Yeah? Well, what's the simple explanation? What's Shammai mean in Hebrew? The Hebrew word Shammai, what's it mean?
Is it from Shema?
Huh?
Is it from Shema?
God.
What's it mean today?
God.
No, Shammai
Omer.
means, Shammai in modern Hebrew, as well as in ancient Hebrew,
There.
means a surveyor, a building surveyor. For those great scholars, they were, in those times, there were enormous saints and great scholars, and many of them said, I don't want to take any salary, whatever I'm doing, which is teaching Torah, making decisions. And therefore, I've got to take up a profession. This profession was a surveyor. So he had with him a surveyor's yardstick. Therefore, when this non-Jew first went to Shammai, because the other thought Shammai was in some ways even sharper than Hillel. He said, he'll tell me the whole Torah on one foot. So what did Shammai tell him? He pushed him away with his surveyor's yardstick. It does not mean necessarily that he actually pushed him. Surely he wouldn't have pushed him. It's not right. Especially what does Shammai say in Ethics to the Fathers, where he expresses his life's motto? What was the life motto of Shammai? In Ethics of the Fathers, you get the mottos of life that were followed by these fantastic leaders of the Jewish people. So his motto was, receive every human being, the same panim yafot, in a welcoming, friendly expression. Smile and welcome them. That was Shammai. So what was he doing here? Pushed him away over the yard as well. Would he do that? Certainly not. So what's it mean? He told him, as we know from many verses in the Bible, also from many things in the Mishnah, that the Torah is a building of life. It's how to build up life. Learning Torah means building up your character, build up your life as an individual, as a nation, as mankind, to build up instead of destroy. So there he said to him, Torah is a huge building. You can't put a huge building that encompasses all areas of life. I'm sorry.
Asel Harav is also in
I must explain to you, I'm very sorry to say it.
Jews chose
I should do this. I'm just speaking about welcoming.
And the second question?
And next year, I'm assuming I'm welcoming, but unfortunately, it's a very sad thing that this person is.
Your violence was me. I did not touch it. You exerted violence towards me. Why did you not?
It should be taking education. It's very difficult, but we have to. We've got to receive every person in a nice way, but when there are people who they don't take notice, it's not his fault, it's not well. And you come up from not so far from here, there's a mental hole, It's very difficult, but that's why we've got a right hand and a left hand. To say, your right hand should welcome everybody, and what's the Hebrew for left? Samol. What if you analyze Samol? Sam, what's Sam? Sam, the poison of God. God's created poisons. Because people who are sick need to take poisons. You don't like to, if a healthy person, there are a lot of foods that are poisonous, keep away from. And you will keep away from. But sometimes, there's a person who's very sick, so to heal him, you've got to give him poison. Poison's medicine. So, sometimes unfortunately, we've got to thank Hashem that He's given us, all of us, a good mind, but when someone has a breakdown, because it's got deeper problems, we need to treat him unfortunately, with other means. Just like I'll put it straight into context. Just like today, the policy of Israel with regard to how to deal with terrorists. We know there are many in the world who say, what do you mean, these terrorists? You've got to have compassion on them. Many say that. Many have liberal views, and they say, you know, Israel is probably the only country in the Middle East that has basically abolished capital punishment, and we only believe in killing people who are out to murder. But we do not say that a person out to murder, you should let him murder. No, we say, I'm sorry, that's a principle in the Torah. Someone comes to kill you, whether he be a Jew or whether he be a Muslim, whatever it is, if he's out to kill, you've got to defend yourself. And not only you've got to defend yourself, you've got to defend others. If you see the cruel people who say, I'm going to murder, I'm going to do death to every person who I think is a Jew. So, if you can disarm them, your words will help. Fine. What if words don't help? Whatever word. And sometimes wounding is enough. That will stop them. And you can't. So it's sometimes you've rather should go on killing. You've got it in self-defense. You look at it. The Tzava Haganah Israel is called an army of self-defense. And you know what's going on out there. You know, even in Israel, they have investigations of was it really justified? The soldier recently, his version is that this person apparently he had a dynamite belt on him because he wanted to hide it. So it's because he felt he'd got to shoot him, because otherwise he blew himself up to kill innocent people. Not innocent Jews only, any innocent person.
But he didn't carry anything on him.
But the army put him in prison, wasn't it? The rest of them. Because the army said, no, it wasn't just, I don't know what the case is, but his defense, well, that was his defense. Here, you know, in Israel, we're worried whenever maybe we've gone too far in self-defense. There are others who are worried the other way around, many are. Many say, no, they can't. They're worried the other way around. You know, they're asked to do certain acts, supposedly of self-defense, but without killing. So they can't do it without killing. And then, but they're afraid. They're afraid to shoot also frequently, because otherwise they'll be court-martialed afterwards. So, you know, they'll have to sit in prison because they killed somebody in clear self-defense. That's called how they understood it. So here this is debated in the Middle East countries, the only country that debates it, even open debate. It's open to all sorts of interpretations. You even have within the government, you can keep within the government those who are saying that the suicide bombers are all the fault of the Jews. Once they've decided a policy of suicide, I mean, they even go and say 9/11 is the fault of the Jews. I mean, and of course, this is today not a question anymore of certain individuals. Today, it's a basic question of if these extremists like Dessler and others who don't hesitate to do the most cruel things and kill the most innocent people. You know, fellow Muslims are suffering more, even in many ways. When you count the numbers who've been killed, suffering more. So if this is going to be the policy of mankind, you know, it'll be each etre'eu chaim b'la'or. It says each person will swallow up his fellow man, swallow him up alive. That's what's going on. So in such a time, certainly, Israel shines as really a bit of light at the end of the tunnel for mankind. to go and try and introduce certain moral guides into question of life and death. So this is applied at all levels. And some have to do it even, as we say, the Shia, the right. The right should bring people near. Okay, let's go back to Shammai. So Shammai, he said, Torah is a building, and I can't go and tell you the whole Torah on 1 foot. Just like I can't put a high and a wide building on 1 pillar. I've got to have many pillars. Foundations have to be strong. And therefore he said, yes, if you want to become from a non-Jew, become a Jew, you'll have to attend a course in all the mitzvot, or the major mitzvot, and see if you understand the width and the depth of the Torah, and you do Kabbalat mitzvot. He went to Hillel, because we're just now in the Mishnah, which is finding situations where Shammai was more lenient than Hillel, but generally it's the other way around. In fact, the halacha generally is like Hillel, and Hillel believes in the principle of Midat Hadin. After all, they were both major judges in the Supreme Court of the Sanhedrin, heads of the Sanhedrin. So Hillel, he applied very strongly the quality of mercy to be introduced and neutralizing the quality of strict justice. And in sharpness, Shammai was greater, but in applying the principle of mercy, in judgments, Hillel was greater. So when this non-Jew came to him, Hillel had the approach to use every means possible, as he says himself in another statement in the Ethics of the Fathers, you should oev et habriot, should love human beings, umokorvan la Torah, bring them near to the Torah. Briot is a phrase used in Pirkei Avot not for Jews, but for all human beings. By the way, I'd like to mention just an episode I just read about my son. He's a combat was a combat chaplain for many years. So when he went into initial training course, so the officer in charge asks every person when he comes, what's your nationality, what's your religion, how old are you, and so on. Then he asks him, which race do you belong to? So he answered, I belong to the human race. So the questioner in charge was very upset. And he said, no, I want to know which race do you belong to? That's human race, all human beings. So he said, no, the human race, nothing else. So he always discharged him. So he had no argument with him. He said, you can't answer that way. But he got through somehow. You know, a few years later, he meets a Catholic in the army, a strong Catholic. And that Catholic says to him, he was so impressed by this argument, he was together with him at this initial test, that he also gives that answer all the time. And that's the human race, we all belong to the human race. So Hillel also says, love human beings. And Hillel loved all mankind. He said the principle of love of the Torah is the basic principle of the Torah. So therefore, when this person said, teach on one basis, this person, he obviously, how did he know about the Jewish religion? In his time, there was great connections between the whole of the certain Middle East and parts of Europe and the European Greek influence, which also to some extent entered Roman civilization, gave knowledge to the non-Jews of the Bible in Greek, the Septuagint. The Gentiles found out the Bible through the Septuagint, with the opposite split also Latin. and it took much longer till the non-Jews who knew some Hebrew. And he said, look, I'd like to become a Jew, because I see the Jews. So obviously, he knew about God. That's a simple explanation. Because it's at the time also, early Christianity, the Greeks had a concept of God. Even those that didn't know the Septuagint, but they knew of questions of God from Socrates and Plato and Aristotle, and their successors. They went also into Roman literature. They knew. You people believed in one God. So you say, want to find? But give me. But I know the details of Jewish observance are so many. I want one principle. So therefore, he said to him that we have to do unto your fellow man. Now, the first question we should ask is, he asked him for what it says in the Torah. Yeah? Tell me the whole Torah on one principle. So he quotes him something. Where's that mentioned in the Torah? Where it says the Torah that was hate what you do not do to your fellow man? Where does it say that? Say that anywhere? You read the Bible. Read the Chumash. That's in the Chumash.
No, but it says about love your neighbor as you do yourself.
Yeah.
And that's impossible.
That is?
That's impossible. So therefore we have to think of what do they mean.
Yeah.
And so we use the reverse. Because to love somebody as you love yourself can be negative. A lot of people hate themselves. So that means you must hate others? No.
Yeah. I'll go if you want to know simple Peshat on those lines, but let me explain it more. He didn't even speak to him in Hebrew. He spoke to him which language? Aramaic. Because Aramaic was the spoken language. Even today, there's some it's a Christian sect or something, it's a semi-Muslim sect. It's become, but they speak Aramaic in the Middle East. And at those times, the Middle East Aramaic was a spoken language. It was already spoken language in the time of Lavan. You're going right back, and it persisted. Different forms. That is. There was Aramaic spoken in Babylon, a bit slightly different Aramaic spoken in Palestine, and what was then Judea, as it was called. And this was Hillel was at the time also the beginnings of sects and Christianity, and the non-Jews there, many of them also spoke Aramaic, so he said to him in Aramaic. And the interesting thing is that one of the most ancient Aramaic translations of the Chumash, called Targum Yonatan ben Uziel, but it preceded Hillel, this Aramaic translation. There it says Kamocha, like you. It says first you should love your fellow man like yourself, meaning, without with hate from do not know any fellow man, in the same expression that Hillel uses. So therefore, this was part of the Torah. And in fact, but what was the Chiddush of Hillel? What was the new aspect that Hillel said to him? That which the hate to a fellow man. He added, like you said, this is the whole Torah, and the rest is commentary. Go and learn. So he said, I accept you if you're willing to understand this. Yeah, because also you might say, like Dorot said just now, you might say, well, if I'm going to love my fellow man, it depends. My neighbor, it says, it says in the Chumash, you love your neighbor like yourself. So if your neighbor is from the same country that you come from, speaks the same language, and he sleeps when you sleep, and he likes to put on the music when you like to put on music. But if he's somebody who doesn't look after his garden and lets it go to weeds, and let's say you've got a neighbor here, somebody got problems from the weeds and the different insects that come into his garden, and also that when you want to sleep, he makes loud music, and he speaks a different language. You've got different lifestyle. So you've got to love him as well, like yourself, just like yourself. If he's like yourself, you like him. Once it's so different, you don't like him. So I'm expected to do that. So he says, no. You've got to, first of all, try the negative, it's easier. Yeah? Take into consideration just that there's certain things you don't like. What does it mean? It doesn't mean to say he's got to put the radio on the same time as you do. No, just like you don't like it. If he makes a noise when you want to sleep, so vice versa as well. Don't you make a noise when he wants to sleep. Work it out between you. Don't go and do something that provokes him. And, you'll see this is the way in which you can build up good relationships. But it says this is the whole Torah, and the rest is commentary. And that I want you to explain to me. How is this the whole Torah and the rest is commentary? How can you say that? Yeah.
So I read in last week's parsha that anyone who uses unbalanced scales isn't called a ganef. It said it's as if he denies that God took us out of Egypt. Does it have something to do with that?
That's one very good answer, yes.
I have an answer.
Can you close the door, please? Oh, in fact, I'm going beyond my time. Okay, so look, I leave this question then to the shir for tomorrow. I leave it with you. How is this the whole Torah and the rest is commentary? And that's really that brings your question to the forefront. It's you can say it. Secular humanists will often sometimes say the same thing. If you interpret it in the manner that it's meant, in other words, you can't love him just like yourself, but you've got to choose a similar principle that if you want others, altogether you want to live a pleasant life, then don't do such things whereby you'll cause harm to others. If you have that in mind all the time, then you have a better family relationship, a better social relationship, a better human relationship with all human beings on that basis. But that still needs to be answered. That I'll leave it until tomorrow.
Still the statement.
It's good. You can keep these things.
Sorry about that. I forgot my bag under the table.
Which is your number and which is the frame? So your number is 1
Still a little further explanation. A little further explanation.
Yes.
Because the statement is